Those who are offended, I'm sorry that you were offended.
That was Dov Hikind's mea culpa for a costume making headlines. That's the Brooklyn Assemblyman in the middle, donning an Afro wig and made up in blackface Sunday, a costume he says was part of a celebration for the Jewish holiday of Purim. And while he was apologetic, he says the uproar is unwarranted.
Purim is when people get dressed up and try to look different and try to be different and have people do their faces and so on and so forth.
Hikind initially said he was dressed as a black basketball player and hired a professional to apply the controversial makeup to his face. But the longtime Politico says it wasn't an attack on African Americans.
If I was black, I might have asked the makeup person, who I hire every single year, I said, make me look white this year. I want to look differently.
I couldn't believe it. I had to look twice. I had to enlarge the picture.
Brooklyn Assemblyman Kareem sees Hikind just about every week in Albany and says, apology aside, he hopes his colleague understands the hurt that he's caused.
The history of minstrels, whites caricatured blacks who had to dress in blackface in order to gain access to entertainment jobs, and gross stereotypes that are perpetuated.
Still, Hikind had support on the streets of the largely Orthodox Jewish community he represents.
He would never do anything hurtful to anybody.
If you really know about the holiday, you really wouldn't find it offensive.
But the opinions of his constituents on the costume weren't shared by his political colleagues. From this statement from Brooklyn Councilman David Greenfield saying, quote, I disagree with him. He should have known better. To this tweet from Queens Councilman Mark Weprin asking, quote, what was Dov thinking? Dov Hikind's son Yoni released this statement on his Facebook page saying, quote, so sad how this is being turned around. My dad doesn't have a prejudiced bone in his body. The assemblyman at that news conference said he was thinking about dressing as a, quote, Indian next year for Purim, but this week's incident has given him second thoughts about that. In Crown Heights, Brooklyn, Tracy Strahan, News 4 New York.